Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar all about how to make the most of Black Friday 2021, brought to you by us at Impression. Now, we have a jam-packed agenda for you today that we're really excited to take you through. We will be looking at the current state of the market after what can safely be described as an odd year or so. And then from there, we'll be looking at some of the trends that we believe will shape Black Friday 2021, with some predictions and recommendations for how to prepare for this year's retail silly season. Finally, we will be leaving you with a 10-point checklist that will hopefully help you feel ready for Black Friday 2021. And whilst we can't guarantee that it will make Black Friday a relaxing experience, hopefully it will ease some of the stress and help you to secure some of those all-important results. But before we kick off, I can see that a few people are still joining. So whilst we wait for this to fill up, let's do some introductions. My name is George Gangar, and I'm the head of digital strategy here at Impression. The digital strategy team is pretty new. I'm currently a team of one, and the team was created to help those clients of ours that are running across multiple channels use first and third-party insights to make sure that they're using those channels as effectively as they can to meet their business objectives. But enough about me. I'd like to introduce you to Maddie, who can safely be described as the star of the show today. Maddie is one of our senior paid media strategists and has a wealth of experience in guiding some of the UK's largest retailers through the Black Friday period. So we're very happy to be able to pick her brains on what we can expect from this year. A couple of bits of housekeeping. We will be running a Q&A at the end of the session, so please do submit questions as we go, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. And finally, just to let you know that we will be sending out the slide deck afterwards. I know that depending on your setup, it might be slightly hard to see some of the content, some of the finer details on the slide. So just rest assured that they'll be coming over to you after. So, hey, Maddie, how are you doing today?
I'm really well, George. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So it's been a strange year or so for everyone. What are things looking like at the moment?
Good question. So let's start off then with this presentation with a little bit of good news in that after a year of massive volatility, let's be honest, for e-commerce, we're seeing that consumer financial security has massively bounced back, largely due to the improvements in things like job security for consumers, their mental health and personal well-being, and just the overall success of the UK's vaccination programme, which I'm sure we're all really grateful for. In essence, this means that consumers are no longer as struck for cash as they were previously in last year and are feeling much more flexible with spending as we come into Q4 2021. So all good news. However, this also means that consumers this year aren't as reliant as such on sales prices and deals for their planned shopping, as seen in this year's demand for Black Friday and any related searches on Google Trends. Now, this doesn't mean that this cyber weekend will be any less vital, however, so don't panic, as what we've seen is more of a shift away from this sales reliance and more of a pivot towards this splurging and getting organised for Christmas this year, as so many families couldn't be together last year, with Christmas gifting appetite already increasing and has actually already surpassed 2020's demand. And with 70% of consumers looking to buy gifts on Cyber Weekend, e-commerce brands have an excellent opportunity this year still, regardless of any demand in Black Friday itself.
Okay, great. So things aren't looking as tricky as they were about a year ago, but let's start looking ahead. We've picked out 4 trends that we think will have the biggest impact on Black Friday 2021. And the first is that the Black Friday hype is likely to start earlier and last longer than in previous years. Maddie, do you want to talk us through what's going on here?
I'd love to, George. So essentially what we've seen over the last few years is an extension of the cyber period. And I mean by that is that consumers start researching much earlier and expect more than just Cyber Weekend as a deal duration. We're seeing that Christmas shopping is done even earlier in the year, every single year. Cyber weekends have become cyber weeks or even cyber months, to be honest with you. And this year's survey suggests that even more UK consumers aim to get their Christmas shopping done even earlier than in prior years. However, on top of this kind of elongation expectation, last year actually saw consumers get fatigued and, to be honest, a bit overwhelmed by deals, often saying that they missed out on what they wanted due to confusion and oversaturation in the market. So what can we predict then for this year? So whilst consumers will indeed expect deals that exceed over this traditional cyber weekend period, they will actually be unsure of when these deals will begin, how long for, or how long they will actually run for. Brands will therefore need to keep consumers energized with fresh deals and clear, clever communication throughout. So what are some of the recommendations of what you can actually do? First and foremost, it's recommended that you ensure you're present in that all-important research phase and build anticipation between 2 to 4 weeks in advance of your deals actually beginning to capture those researching consumers. Tell consumers exactly when your deals will begin and entice them in with sign-ups and countdown formats to really build up that anticipation. It's also encouraged that if you do want to elongate your offer period, as expected by consumers, you can delay this fatigue by having a variety of offers throughout the period and ensure that your on-site content is engaging to keep consumers on-site and interested in your brand. And finally, with consumer behavior changing every single year, like I said, last year was a hugely volatile year for e-commerce. We couldn't expect anything. And this year is, as much as we're going through these predictions, we still have no real idea of what's going to happen. So it's key for you to make sure that you have automated strategies in place to account for any volatility in consumer demand in 2021.
Okay, great. Thanks, Maddie. Some really interesting stuff there. It does seem like every year Black Friday and Christmas are getting longer and longer. So it's great to hear how we might keep things fresh throughout those lengthening periods of activity. So another trend that we picked out is the ever-growing importance of audiences, particularly first-party audiences. So Maddie, what are some of the things that we can be doing to make sure that we capitalize on this in the best way possible?
Really good question. So I'll set the scene a little bit first and foremost. So in a post-pandemic world, we know that consumers are still really keen to prioritize e-commerce over physical shopping, especially as to what happened last year. However, whilst online offers this all-important element of convenience, there is this intimate and personalized aspect of physical shopping experiences in store that really help to build that attachment between a brand and a consumer. The data shows us that over half of consumers actually prefer advertising that is personalized to them. And with a huge suite of audiences available to us and our online retailers, we certainly have an opportunity to recreate a personal touch outside of the store.
And just a quick one, if that's all right, Maddie.
Yeah, sure.
Is this just for new customers, or are there tactics we can be employing for existing customers as well?
No, really good question, George, and not at all. If anything, it's just as important, if not more so, to ensure that your current consumer base feels valued and in order to foster their loyalty this year, with the return rate nearly doubling for consumers who have purchased from you 2 or more times. It's really key then that brands make the online experience as personal as possible, with consumer loyalty on the line if brands don't make them feel valued. So in terms of predictions then, in a nutshell, by personalizing your advertising to specific audiences, we predict that by serving offers unique to their needs and any previous interaction with your brand, you'll see an increase in the pool of new consumers, as well as loyalty from your existing customer base. So again, what can you actually do within your advertising to help achieve these? So from new to existing to lapsed users, it's really key to vary up your creative and your copy to suit every stage of your customer's journey with your brand. With the right rewards in place at each of these stages, 86% of consumers would say they would recommend a company to their friends and family, and 46% have said they would remain loyal even after a bad experience with your brand. The next tip is even more important with changes in Chrome privacy laws fast inbound. In a future without cookies, it's really key for brands now to be building up first-party data sooner rather than later. And Black Friday is the perfect time to do so. You're having a huge influx of new customers coming to you. So not only can you entice these new users this year with things like sneak peeks and any benefits for parting with their email details, you can then use that data to effectively nurture them into future and loyal customers through dedicated comms. And finally, it's also key to understand your current customer base and any typical cross-sell or upsell pathways. You can showcase complementary products on site while your users are browsing, as well as use remarketing to showcase all the different products and the variety that you have to keep them interested and coming back for more.
Thanks, Maddie. I think it's hard to understate the importance of first-party data and how much that's going to continue growing over the coming years.
Hugely.
So another development we wanted to touch on was the growing importance that consumers are placing on brands that reflect their values. I think we've all seen the shifting public sentiment towards some of these key issues. So how should brands be approaching this?
Really good question and a really good topic for us to cover today, George. Over the last 5 years, what we've seen is a shift in the way consumers choose their brands. And it's no longer just for the actual products that you sell, but it's actually for what you stand for as well. So brands who can talk to this need in a really genuine and relevant way to their products and consumer base will likely draw in short-term Black Friday wins, as well as long-term loyalty and future-proofing yourself against any negative sentiment. Now, this has only been exacerbated in the last year with multiple worldwide ethical and environmental movements that have caused consumers to really question their brand's ethical and environmental standpoints, with nearly 50% saying that they would actively boycott brands that don't align to their ethical values. However, take this with a pinch of salt, it is not something that needs to be pushed if it doesn't fit your brand or demographic. Consumers aren't stupid and they will see through any advertising that seems really forced or irrelevant to your brand, especially if you're not going all in. Hence, not only just talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. This trend is key for us to mention that as demand for ethical brands only continues to grow as millennials and Gen Z take up more and more of that online purse holder space. So if you're not already thinking about it and how it could align to your brand, now is the time to do so. So in terms of predictions then, we predict that brands who can genuinely and authentically talk to their wider contribution to society and the environment, you will see better sentiment this year from consumers, as well as it could foster long-term loyalty for future Black Fridays as well. So what can you actually do? First and foremost, don't shy away from shouting about what you stand for and your company's values if it is genuine to your brand. Consumers may come and buy for the deals this year, but they will initially engage with you and your ad content and stay for the ethical values that you present. However, caution again should be taken if your brand has any variation in your ethics or environmental standpoint, as consumers may be frustrated if they feel lied to or misled. And by that, I mean, for example, if you are saying you're a vegan brand, but only 20% of your products are vegan, you're not a vegan brand, you have a vegan collection. So just make sure you're phrasing it in the right way to make sure consumers don't feel misled. If you are finding this trend really difficult to achieve, or you're having some worries about the various different ethical standpoints of your brand, you may want to consider alternative offers for this year as consumers become more aware of fast retail and want their brands to make more of a stand for sustainability. You can consider things like charitable donations or planting a tree or receiving a free refill instead of a free gift as some alternative offers to shift spend into more charitable causes. And finally, be really proud of yourselves if you really can showcase your brand's ethical values. Our digital PR team can help you better understand how to be heard amongst the noise and the clutter of this Black Friday and drive some like-minded consumers to your business over the all-important peak season.
Thanks, Maddie. I think the key thing that I'm taking away from this is that, of course, it's important for brands to speak to these issues, but if it's not genuine, then it's likely to do more harm than good, both to the brand's reputation and the issues themselves, which nobody wants.
No.
Cool. And another thing that we've picked out as our final key trend is the growing importance of efficiency and flexibility when it comes to payment methods and delivery. So, Maddie, how can brands be taking advantage of this?
Yeah, or like you said, an all-important one for us to be considering today. So for just over 3/4 of all UK shoppers, convenience is actually defined as their top priority when it comes to online shopping. And last year's Black Friday shoppers revealed that convenient delivery coupled with payment options and flexibility were major factors in making any of their purchases online. Now, I've put a variety of different facts on the screen here. And as George said at the beginning of the deck, we will be sending this over. So don't worry if you can't quite read them at this point. We understand they're small, but the numbers do speak for themselves. And this trend has shifted away from being a kind of brand preference for consumers into a full-blown expectation, as consumers now actively research how quickly and flexibly they can receive their goods when they're purchasing online, and especially around Black Friday and the all-important peak season in the run-up to Christmas. So our prediction then is that ultimately brands that offer any fast or free delivery services and returns, coupled with flexible payment options, will ultimately win the day this Black holiday season, as consumers are set to value that all-important convenience factor more than ever before. So again, let's go through some things that you can actually do to help this. So first of all, be clear about anything that you do offer. As delivery capabilities become this firm expectation, it's really important that you ensure to make this stand out in your ads and your creative. just to make sure your competitors don't sweep away consumers looking for that convenience factor that you also offer but just haven't shouted about. The second point here is to embrace flexibility. It's what consumers want. So especially as we're seeing that consumers are more and more keen to splurge this year around Christmas, if you are able to offer any buy now, pay later options, etc., you should make that clear to entice those really desiring that level of support. And finally, it's also key to ensure you're streamlining mobile conversion, especially this year as consumers are actually more mobile again and out and about as opposed to last year, where let's be honest, everyone was stuck on their desktop. So it's key for you to highlight any options for things like Google or Apple Pay, among the variety of others that off the top of my head I can't think of, that make mobile shopping experiences even more seamless.
Thanks, Maddie. I think, speaking personally, I know it makes a massive difference when I see an option to buy through Google Pay or to sign in via Google, especially in the past year when every trip to a pub or restaurant seems to start with everyone spending 5 minutes entering their payment detail into the latest app, which was less than ideal.
Absolutely.
Great. So we've taken you through what we've identified as 4 core trends. We've got the fact that this Black Friday period is expected to start earlier and last longer, the ever-growing importance of audiences, particularly first-party data, the increasing emphasis that consumers place on brands' values, and finally, the importance of creating a smooth customer experience. And Maddie has very handily turned our recommendations into a Black Friday checklist to help you make sure that you're incorporating as much of this as possible into your preparation for Black Friday 2021.
I have indeed. So as previously mentioned, obviously this deck will be shared around after this presentation, so you'll be able to read these in more detail. And I've added a key to this slide to show you when you should be doing some of these recommendations, either pre-Black Friday, during the sales period, or actually throughout. So by that, I mean both pre and during the key sales period itself. So I'll just walk you then through these top 10 ultimate Black Friday checklist items. So first and foremost, really important one for everyone, really, any retailer that's playing in the space this year, build anticipation in that all-important research phase. It's really key to make sure you're capturing consumers' attention in that 2 to 4 week period before your deals start to make sure they come back to you at the right time. It's also then key for you to vary up your offers to keep audiences engaged should you choose to elongate that period. And then also utilize automation. It's going to be your best friend, I promise, to combat any volatility that you might see in the market this year. From an audience perspective, it's key to personalize your ads based on the user's experience and any previous interaction of your brand, as well as use this opportunity this year for Black Friday to build out your first-party data. Can't stress enough how important this is this year. Next year is coming fast inbound. It will be 2022 soon. So definitely start building out that first-party data sooner rather than later. And finally, from an audience perspective, utilize and understand any opportunities that you have to upsell and cross-sell to really build on that loyalty. Like we said, the more that you can see consumers buying from your site, that return rate almost doubles. So really important one to be considering there. It's also key to be genuine and relevant with any of your ethical values. Like George said, this can do more harm than good if you're not doing this in a really genuine and authentic way. Or if you're feeling like you want to test the water, you could trial alternative ethical offers this year to see how your consumers react. It's also really, really key to ensure that any delivery or payment options are made clear to really capture any consumers that are really hammering home for that all important efficiency and flexibility element of shopping that they really want. And finally, streamline any conversions for mobile consumers as people are out and about with fast payment options that can be available to them. So like we said, you can go through this all in your own time after we've sent this deck over to you as well.
Excellent. So hopefully that has given everyone plenty to think about when it comes to this year's Black Friday period. We do have some time for some questions, so I'm going to kick off the Q&A with a couple that got sent in ahead of time, but please do feel free to post any in the chat if there are any that you would like us to address. The first question is on offer fatigue, and it is, what are the signs that I should look out for to know that my special offer is suffering with fatigue? Should I change my offers on a reactive basis?
Oh God, good question. I mean, to be honest with you, there's always going to be some element of reactivity during Black Friday and Cyber Weekend. You know, we see things like offers go out of stock, they don't perform anywhere near as planned, or they massively exceed the performance that was planned, etc. So in that regard, yes, you should be reactive with offers should you see any unplanned jumps in performance for you. But from an ad fatigue perspective, however, I'd say this is one to be pretty cautious of. Typically, deals do best over the actual Black Friday and Cyber Monday days themselves, with traffic kind of typically dropping off either side. So don't panic if it's just a case of less consumers online that day and there's less traffic actually coming through your ad content. If you want a better indicator of fatigue, I would probably go off click-through rate, so the engagement with your ads, and conversion rate, as this will give you a better idea of relative performance, even if traffic has dropped off for that day. Now, if you do have any questions on this specifically, your paid media teams will be able to show your performance across the entire period and will be able to highlight to you should you see any signs of ad fatigue that start to emerge. So just keep close comms with them and they'll be able to let you know.
Thanks, Maddie. And then the second question was, where can I find out more about getting my ad campaigns automated?
Oh, another really good one. And I guess it kind of depends a little bit in terms of what you're actually running from a digital ad space. So depending on whatever activity you've chosen to run, there are many different ways that we can automate campaigns, from the large suite of bid strategies that are available on social, search, and programmatic platforms, to even using things like our own in-house scripts and our scripting team. So for specific details, to be honest with you, on how you can get the most out of automation, I'd recommend you speak to your paid media teams, as they're the ones that will really be able to make personalized recommendations that are specific to your accounts and your campaigns. But I promise you, there are a plethora of different things that we can do to make sure we're getting the most out of this Black Friday.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Maddie. I think that's all the questions that we've got, and I haven't seen any more come through the chat, so I think we will wrap up there. Big thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Thanks in particular to Maddie for sharing her wisdom. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch about how to better prepare for your Black Friday or anything else related to your digital marketing strategies, please do get in touch. And have a nice day, everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Cheers. Goodbye.